Before we begin, I want you to remember one number: 10%. A tiny number. Yet this single number has helped countless people build wealth, while others spent their entire lives struggling financially. Why? The answer is hidden inside one of the most influential money books ever written. And once you understand it, you'll see money through a completely different lens. Picture a man named Arcad. In his youth, he was nothing special. No inheritance, no wealthy family, no lucky break. He worked alongside everyone else, earning a modest wage, spending every coin as soon as it touched his palm. Sound familiar? It should, because that's where most people stay, trapped in the cycle of earn, spend, owe, repeat. But Arcad did something unexpected. He went looking for answers. Not from get-rich-quick schemers, not from gamblers or dreamers. He went to the richest man in his city and asked a question so simple, so vulnerable, that most of us are too proud or too afraid to ask. He asked, "How did you become rich?" And the answer changed everything. The richest man didn't laugh. He didn't turn him away. Instead, he revealed the first secret. A part of all you earn is yours to keep. Sounds obvious, doesn't it? But let that sink in. If you earn 100 coins, how many do you truly keep? Most people keep none. They pay the landlord, the baker, the tailor, the tax collector, the tavern keeper. By the end of the month, their purse is as empty as when it began. They have worked for everyone except themselves. So here is the first law of wealth. Every time you receive a coin, you must keep at least 1 out of every 10. 1/10. That's the number I asked you to remember. 10%. Not 20, not 50. 10. Small enough that you barely feel it. Large enough that over time it becomes a mountain. But Arcad had the same objection you're having right now. He said, "I can barely afford to live on what I earn. How can I possibly save 1/10? And the richest man replied, "That is what every man says. But is it true?" He pointed out that most people waste far more than 1/10 on things that bring no lasting value. On drinks that are gone by morning. On clothes that impress people they don't even like. On small luxuries they've convinced themselves are necessities. So Arcad tried it. The first month, it hurt. He had to do without a few comforts. But by the end of the year, his purse held silver he had never had before. And here is the part they never tell you. It wasn't the silver that mattered. It was what happened inside him. He began to see himself differently. Not as a man who lived from hand to mouth, but as a man who was becoming his own master. That tiny act of keeping 10% rewired his entire relationship with money. Now, what did Arcad do with that saved 1/10? He didn't bury it in the ground. He didn't hide it under a mat. Money hidden is money idle, and idle money is like a field left unplanted. It produces nothing. So Arcad took his savings and put them to work. He lent it to a shield maker who needed to buy bronze. The shield maker paid him interest. Not usury, fair interest. And that interest earned interest of its own. That is the second law. Make your gold work for you, tirelessly, month after month, year after year. But wait, here is where most people stumble. They hear this and they rush out to invest in the first shiny thing that promises quick returns. And they lose everything. Arcad almost did the same. He lent some of his savings to a brickmaker who was going on a long journey to buy rare jewels. The brickmaker promised to return with a fortune and share the profits. Arcad imagined doubling his money overnight. Instead, the brickmaker was robbed by thieves and came back with nothing. Arcad lost every coin. That painful lesson taught him the third law. Seek advice from those who are wise in the ways of gold. Do not trust your savings to your own inexperience. Do not trust them to a friend who once got lucky. Do not trust them to a stranger with a smooth tongue. A man who is an expert in bricks knows nothing about gems. A man who is a skilled hunter knows nothing about trading. Before you invest, ask yourself, does this person have a proven track record of making money and keeping it? If not, walk away.
Arcad learned to consult the money lenders, the merchants, the men who had grown old and wealthy in the marketplace. They did not promise miracles. They gave solid, boring advice. Invest in things that are safe, that produce steady returns, that you understand. He bought farmland that produced grain every season. He lent to honest tradesmen who needed tools. He put gold into sturdy businesses that served real needs. And slowly, patiently, his 10th grew into 100, and his 100 into 1,000. But let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how some people earn a good income yet never seem to get ahead? They get a raise, and suddenly they need a bigger apartment. They get a bonus, and suddenly they need a fancier car. Their expenses rise to meet their income every single time. That is the silent killer of wealth. Arcad saw this in his own friends. Bansir, the chariot builder, worked hard every day. His hands were strong, his skill was unmatched, but his purse was always empty. Why? Because every time he earned a little more, he spent a little more. New sandals, a better dinner, a gift for his wife. Not evil things, just unfocused things. Arcad went to Bansir and said, "You have the same 2 hands as any rich man. You work just as many hours. What is missing?" Bansir thought about it and realized he had no plan. He was like a ship sailing without a rudder. He moved, but he went nowhere. So Arcad gave him the 4th law. Control your expenditures. Do not confuse your wants with your needs. The desires of a man are endless. You could spend 1,000 gold coins a day and still find something else to want. But your resources are limited, so you must draw a line. Spend no more than 7/10 of what you earn. 7/10 for living, 1/10 for saving, and the remaining 2/10 for paying off any debts you have. Yes, debts. Because many of you are not starting from zero. You are starting from below zero. You owe money to friends, to family, to banks, to credit card companies, and those debts are eating your future. Every coin you pay in interest is a coin that could have been working for you instead. So the 5th law is this: free yourself from the bondage of debt, but do it wisely. Do not try to pay everything at once and leave yourself starving. That never works. Instead, make a sacred agreement with yourself. Set aside 2/10 of your income for your creditors. Spread it fairly among them and live on 7/10. If you can do that month after month, the debts will shrink and your spirit will lighten. Because a man in debt is not free. He is owned by his promises. God taught this to a young man named Rodin, who had borrowed heavily to buy expensive robes and fine foods and gifts for a woman who did not even love him. Rodin was drowning. He could not sleep. He could not look his friends in the eye. But when he started setting aside just 2/10 of his earnings for his debts, something miraculous happened. The first month, nothing changed. The second month, he saw a small reduction. By the end of the first year, his debts had shrunk by nearly a quarter, and he felt hope for the first time in years. He realized that debt is not a life sentence. It is a problem that can be solved with discipline and time. Now, here is where the story gets really interesting. As Arkad grew richer, he noticed something strange. Other men who had once been richer than him were now poor. Men who had inherited fortunes had squandered them. Men who had won at gambling had lost everything. Why? Because they had never learned to guard their gold. The sixth law is this: ensure your future. Protect your treasure against loss. Do not lend to a man who cannot produce a reliable plan for repayment. Do not invest in schemes you do not understand. Do not put all your gold into one venture, no matter how promising it seems. Instead, spread your risk, and above all, prepare for the days when you can no longer work. Because old age comes for everyone. Sickness comes for many. The man who has no savings in his later years is a man who will eat the bitter bread of charity or the cruelty of children who feel burdened by him. Arkad made sure that a portion of his wealth was set aside in safe, slow-growing investments that would last for the rest of his life. He also took the seventh law seriously. Increase your ability to earn. A man who is truly wise does not just save and invest. He also becomes more valuable. He learns new skills. He works harder and smarter than the man next to him. He treats his employer or his customers with such respect and delivers such quality that they happily pay him more. The richest man in Babylon did not get rich by being average. He was the best scribe in the city before he ever became the best investor. He could write faster, more clearly, more accurately than anyone, and that skill opened doors that pure gold could not open. So let me ask you a direct question. Right now, today, what skill could you improve that would increase your income by 20% within a year? Could you learn to speak more persuasively? Could you learn basic bookkeeping? Could you become more reliable? Arriving earlier and leaving later? Could you master a software tool that makes you twice as productive? These are not glamorous answers, but they are the bedrock of real wealth. Because no matter how well you save, there is a limit to how much you can cut. The real magic happens when you grow the pie from both ends. You save 10%. You invest it wisely, and you steadily increase what you earn. By now, you might be wondering why I started with the number 10. 10% seems so small. But here is the secret that most money books never tell you. 10% works because it is painless enough to stick. Studies have shown that people who try to save 20 or 30% from nothing almost always quit within weeks. It hurts too much. They're brain rebels, but 10%? That is just small enough that you can adjust to it. You find the 10% by cutting little things you barely notice. One less coffee, one less takeout meal, one less impulse purchase. And before you know it, the habit is locked in. Then 6 months later, you look at your savings and you feel a pride you have never felt before. And that pride propels you to find more ways to save, to earn, to invest. The richest man in Babylon did not become rich overnight. It took him years, decades. But here's the question that changes everything. Where would you be today if you had started saving 10% of everything you ever earned, starting with your very first paycheck? Would you have a down payment for a house? Would you have a year of expenses in the bank? Would you have a portfolio that pays you while you sleep? Now, ask yourself this. Where will you be 10 years from today if you start right now? The answer is not a mystery. It is simple mathematics. 10% of your income invested at a modest return doubles roughly every 7 to 10 years. Over 30 years, that tiny tenth becomes more than 15 times its original value. $1 saved at 20 becomes $4 at 50. $100 a month becomes over $100,000 in 20 years, not by magic. By the quiet, relentless power of time and compound interest. But this is not just about numbers. It is about who you become along the way. The man who saves 10% of his income is not the same man who spends everything. He becomes patient. He becomes intentional. He learns to delay gratification, which is the single greatest predictor of success in life. He stops being a slave to the opinions of others because he no longer needs to impress them with his spending. He develops a quiet confidence that no economic downturn can shake because he has reserves. And that confidence makes him more creative, more courageous, more generous. He can take risks that others cannot. He can walk away from a bad job. He can help a friend in need without stressing about his own bills. He can sleep soundly through a stock market crash because he knows his plan is solid. I want you to picture two men. The first man earns 100,000 coins a year. He saves nothing. He spends everything on a big house, a new car, fine dining, vacations. He looks successful on the outside, but inside he is terrified. One missed paycheck and everything collapses. He lies awake at night calculating how much he owes. The second man earns 60,000 coins a year. He saves 10%, 6,000 coins a year. He lives on 54,000. His apartment is modest. His car is used. He cooks most of his own meals, but his savings grow. After 10 years, he has over 90,000 coins saved and invested. That money is earning him another 9,000 coins a year in passive income. His stress is low. His freedom is real. Now tell me, who is truly rich?
The answer is obvious. Yet most people live like the first man. They have been sold a lie that wealth is about what you spend. But wealth has never been about spending. Wealth is about owning. Assets that pay you while you sleep. A savings account, a diversified portfolio, a rental property, a small business, your own skills. These things are real wealth. The new phone, the designer bag, the luxury car, those are expenses. And the moment you buy them, they begin losing value. The only person who gets rich from your spending is the seller. So here is the final challenge. Starting tomorrow, the very next coin you earn, take 10% and put it somewhere you will not touch. Not in your wallet, not in your checking account. Put it in a separate place. A jar, a shoebox, a savings account you have to walk to the bank to access. Make it slightly inconvenient to get to. That friction matters. Then do the same with the next coin, and the next. Do not wait for the perfect moment. Do not wait until you earn more. Do not wait until your debts are paid. Start now, with whatever you have. If you earn $10, save $1. If you earn $100, save $10. The amount is not the point. The habit is the point. The identity shift is the point. The richest man in Babylon was once a poor scribe who had to beg for advice. He had no advantages except one. He decided that he would keep a tenth of everything he earned. That single decision, made in a dusty room thousands of years ago, has echoed through the centuries. It has built fortunes. It has rescued families from poverty. It has given old men and women dignity in their final years. And it can do the same for you. But here is the question you must answer tonight, alone with your thoughts. Are you willing to be uncomfortable for the next 30 days? Are you willing to do what most people will not do, so that you can have what most people will never have? Because that is the price. It is not a high price, 10%, a tiny number, but it requires something that feels scarce. It requires you to say no to yourself. It requires you to delay a small pleasure today for a massive freedom tomorrow. And that is the great test of character. Not whether you can earn money, almost anyone can earn, but whether you can keep it, whether you can command it to serve you instead of the other way around. Look back at your life 5 years ago. Think of all the things you spent money on that you cannot even remember. The drinks, the impulsive online purchases, the dinners that were forgotten by the next week. Now imagine if you had taken just 10% of all that and put it aside. Where would you be today? Do not let regret weigh you down. Let it light a fire. Because 5 years from now, you will be looking back at today, and you have a choice. You can look back with the same empty feeling, wondering where all your coins went. Or you can look back with pride, watching your savings grow like a tree you planted years ago. The richest man in Babylon left us no secret formulas, no get-rich-quick schemes, no inside tips on the stock market. He left us something far more valuable. 7 simple laws that work for anyone, anywhere, at any income level. Keep a tenth. Control your spending. Make your gold multiply. Guard your treasure from loss. Own your home. Secure your future. Increase your ability to earn. That is it. That is the whole teaching. It fits on one page, but living it takes a lifetime, and those who live it are never the same. So I will ask you one last time to remember that number, 10%. It is not a restriction. It is not a sacrifice. It is the key to a door that most people never even see. Behind that door is a life where money is no longer a source of fear, where you can help the people you love, where you can wake up each morning and work because you want to, not because you have to,
where the sunset looks different because you are not worrying about tomorrow. You already know what you need to do. The question is whether you will start tonight, right now, before you close this book, before you click away. Take a single coin, real or imagined, and set aside its tenth. Say it out loud. I will keep 10% of everything I earn. Say it again, one more time. Now feel the shift. That is the sound of a new beginning, and it is yours if you choose it.